left. I want to highlight this for India Arie, who has jumped into the Joe Rogan Spotify conversation. She's pulled her music from Spotify. Now, she is in good. Here's the thing, but Spotify is still siding with Joe Rogan. So Joe Rogan is still going to be on Spotify. Right. And now you got a sister, India Arie, who's pulled her music in solidarity with the truth, to be honest with you. At the end of the day, it's solidarity with the truth versus misinformation. I applaud her, but ultimately it's just hurting her at the end of the day. I'm not saying it's not noteworthy or at all. I'm saying some of these moves, we got to have more than just an individual person being sacrificial.
We have to be more organized together. Just yesterday, we talked about
Judas. Go ahead.
Just the other day, we just talked about not being a Judas and accepting 30 dirty pieces of silver. India Arie said, I don't want your 30 pieces of dirty silver.
That's right. I agree with her.
You have to make this. So you can't say out both sides of your neck that she's only hurting herself. She's operating in a bigger cause. This is where our accomplishments as a people has come from. Because people have
you missed a clause. You missed a very important clause. You missed a very important clause of what I said, because it changes the dynamics of everything, in my opinion, is that she's only hurting herself if she's out there by herself. If Coach is out there by him, wait, one second. Well, she's amongst three artists. It's Neil Young, India Arie, and one other artist who's far more popular than Neil Young. Apparently, Joni
Mitchell and Graham Nash. It's
so she's technically, it's four now. So at the end of the day, if Spotify holds the line, then she would have made a sacrifice. It's noteworthy. It is honorable. It is the right thing to do. I get it. I am all for the sacrifice. I think what I'm trying to say is we're not going to gain ground if people keep sacrificing by themselves and going down by themselves. It's solidarity or nothing. It's solidarity or nothing.
Exactly. It's Dr. Mack. It's when you go and you were a former military man. When you go,
I was never military.
Sorry about that. So put at it like you going to war. If you go into war, if we running out there, all right, I'm gonna go, and then in 10 minutes you gonna go, and then in 10 minutes he gonna go, instead of in 15 minutes all 5,000 of us
everybody
are gonna go. If we getting picked off if we going out there one by one. That's my kind of point with it. India Arie, and to agree with Ben, yes, that's an awesome stand that she's taking, but who's out there really standing with her? You know what I mean? So I don't think it's enough people standing with her. Same with is not enough people standing right now with these black issues in the NFL to affect the bottom line. Because Spotify not losing no sleep over India Arie.
I didn't know you could argue this. Wait, can we pause? Can we pause and say?
And let me get
wait a minute. Can we pause and reflect on this conversation, Dwayne? I didn't know you want to argue like this. Go ahead, DJ Exclusive, and then Brother Matt.
What I was going to say is you got to look at it like this. And I hate to say it like this because India Arie is an awesome artist, but India Arie is not an artist that has a lot of followers and listeners on Spotify like that. So, yes, she pulled her music, but she's still not losing out that much because she's still streamed on several other platforms. So, losing one of these platforms, yes, it may be one of the main ones. She may lose a little bit of money, but I'm glad that she did it. Neil Young, on the other hand, he has a little power. Yeah. Neil Young is an older artist, and Joni Mitchell. They're older artists, so they have that a huger following. But you got to think about it. Spotify is for the generation of the young. I'm just gonna put it out there and say it like that. Now, once you start having Katy Perry's, Beyonce's, Jay-Z's, Lil Wayne's, and all these people start pulling their music, then that's when we'll start noticing a change. Yep. But like I said, you have India Arie, Neil Young, Joni Mitchell, Graham Nash, 3 old white people. I think Joni Mitchell may be black. I'm sorry, I don't know. I'm not sure. And half of these music I haven't heard besides India Arie.
Joni Mitchell's white.
Yeah.
Okay. So then it's all going to depend. So I'm glad that they're doing this, but Spotify is still going to stand their ground because right now they're not losing that many listeners.
And Ben, we can't tie. I don't think I can tie this to Ukraine, but we've tied it to India Arie, and we can tie it to everything else that's happening in the country. To Dr. Mack's point about when the people were dying and the change came from that. That happened because there was a catalyst. Yes, like you said, Dr. Mack, there was a catalyst. But then there was this overwhelming swarm of black people, of white people, of allies, of people of all kinds that came together as one and said, we're not going to do nothing else until y'all fix this.
Jinkies.
So,
so gentlemen, let me say this. Let me help you to understand the spirit in which I'm listening to this. When I was NAACP in Seattle, and there was a killing of a African-American man at the hands of unlawful law enforcement, I got arrested for that. And I knew I was going to get arrested. I got arrested. I had just gotten married, had a brand new mortgage. My son was 1 year old. And I told my wife at the time, I said, baby, if I get convicted, which I'm not afraid to do this, don't be afraid to just sell the house and go back down to Florida and be with your family. And to her credit, she says, no, baby, I'm not doing anything. I'm just saying to you that there are some of us who are willing to make that sacrifice for a greater good, even if it's at our expense. And I am compelled to do it because I've seen so many times in our history where people have done that. And whether they benefited from it or not, they still did it. And that is what courage is. Courage is when you're afraid to do it, but you know. That's what greatness is. Greatness is when you're afraid to do it, but you go ahead and do it anyway, and it's not going to benefit you. When my mother paid those $2 for her poll tax, there was nobody on that ballot that cared a damn thing about us. But my mother was hoping and praying that one day that change is going to come. And when we saw the election of the first black president, when we saw all these blacks being elected in political bodies around, that $2 now all of a sudden it was worth something. When I got arrested in Seattle, there was a message sent. Now, if it had to come at my expense, so be it. Because I look and I read, this history is not trivial to me. I try to internalize the sacrifices that these people made. And that's what the word sacrifice means. It means I am willing to forego what could be beneficial to me for the greater good of others.
Absolutely.
And that is what I love about Brian Flores. And that is what I'm saying right now, that in my DNA, I feel this change is coming over this particular issue as it applies to black coaches in the National Foosball League.
Absolutely. Dr. Mack, and I have to say I respect you so much because I know I know of some of the things that you've done, and I totally agree with you that there have been over the course of time, there have been so many people with the courage and the fortitude to stand up for a cause. But until there were other people standing with them, it didn't become a movement. There's always people with courage and people willing to come out and do. Yes, I'll stand on this. You've done it. There have been so many people that have done it. Brian Flores is doing it right now. But until there were people behind them, until there were people riding with them, it wasn't a movement. It was just this. And before that, it was almost like a martyr. It's just yes,
it was a martyr. That's what I was about to say.
You for doing this, but I don't know if I'm going to rock with you on it. Until there was enough people that had that same courage and was willing to stand up with them, nothing happened.
But Dwayne, I'm saying this.
Ben, you mean it, Ben?
Let's assume nothing happens with this Brian Flores. Let's go down your premise. Trust and believe that the day that it does happen, Brian Flores will be a block in that foundation that allowed it, that made it possible to happen. And that is the point that I'm trying to make, is that
I see
you will never get that foundation unless there are people that are willing to be a part of that foundation. They may not benefit from it, but that is how that change comes about. And trust and believe, because of what he's doing. In 100 years that this league has been there, not one black person had the courage to do what Brian Flores is now doing. That in and of itself is a victory.